Jay here, Stretford Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, I'm in the studio. It's live, so get involved in the chat and the comments and let us know what you think about all the latest Manchester United news. And I just realised I've got them in and I don't really need them. We've got a few stories to get through. We've got Wout Weghorst's first interview as a Manchester United player. So we're going to go through all that, see what he's got to say for himself. We've also got a story about Marcus Rashford, not to mention Declan Rice, as you've probably seen on the thumbnail. United could be about to hijack Arsenal's marquee summer signing. There's something going on there, and I'll get into all that as well, so you can sort of pick the bones through that one and see whether you think Declan Rice is going to make the trip from West Ham to Old Trafford or whether he's going to end up at the Emirates. There's loads to get through, so get involved in the comments. Malcolm Campbell says, morning, Jay. The Hungarian hustler says, don't ask me why I think this. It's just a gut feeling. Rashford will sign for Newcastle. Well, I certainly hope that gut feeling is wrong. I would be devastated if that happened. I don't think it will, but it's your gut feeling, so you know you can feel that if you do. Junior Tuckerman says Glazers out always. Sean Colbert says morning Jay. Heaven Soul says morning Jay. Just Joe says morning Jay. You beautiful baldy. The dude 42 says back up for Casemiro. Yep, that's obviously a reference to Declan Rice. Henry C says, Jay looked like Rashford with the earring AirPods on. Glenn F and Santa Notch. Glenn F says, morning, Jay, my main man. Santa Notch says, morning, the man. Good to see you guys in the chat. Listen, let's start off with Marcus Rashford. You can see there, Manchester United have opened new contract talks with star forward Marcus Rashford and are confident of tying him to a 5-year deal. Now, there were some sort of rumours, stories, reports going round that there was going to be a cap on salaries at Manchester United, that there was going to be a 200k a week cap, so that no player was going to go over that. However, it seems that may not quite be the case. That there is a way around that, or that is not happening, and that Marcus Rashford could be on for more than 200k. Because listen, 200 grand a week is obviously phenomenal. Like, let's not pretend it's not. It's a ridiculous amount of money to play football, but it's also less than you can get elsewhere. And also, Marcus Rashford, the way he's been playing, he could get 300 grand or whatever if he went to someone like a Paris Saint-Germain, for example, who've obviously been in for him or interested in him for quite some time. So we have to put things into context there. And, you know, there may be an argument going, well, 200k should be enough. Well, it should be in the way it is. But when you can earn a lot more playing elsewhere, you should be getting that sort of money or sort of similar-ish money at Manchester United. Don't forget as well, Marcus Rashford cost United nothing. We haven't had a transfer fee for Marcus Rashford. He came through the academy, and he's also on fire at the minute. He is banging in literally every single game. He's scoring. He's on this fantastic run. I think he's at 7 in all comps, or sorry, in total, and 9 consecutive games at Old Trafford as well. I mean, he just cannot stop scoring. So you can understand why Manchester United tie him down, or want to tie him down. He is a Manchester United fan. He has been at the club since he was a kid. Hopefully, we can get this deal done, because the last thing I would want to see is Marcus Rashford leave. I think he's got an extension on his contract till 2024, which is what United triggered recently. But United obviously want to get him tied down till 2029 or whatever it is. And hopefully, that can happen sooner rather than later, because that would be a big bonus to get a player like, Marcus Rashford in the form that he's in, tied down to a long-term deal. Santa not saying, is that not a basic wage? I presume that's about the 200k thing. I think it may be, because it's whatever it is. It's not we're going over 200k, so it's not the cap. There was some reports though earlier in the week, and well, not earlier in the week, last week, that there was going to be a 200k cap, and it's not the case. So there might be a basic there, but don't forget as well, you can have a basic of say whatever 200k and earn a lot more than that if you've got goal bonuses, or if you've got win bonuses, or if you've got a bonus if United win a trophy, or if you get a bonus if you reach a certain amount of appearances. When we were managed by Sir Alex Ferguson, the wages at United were never astronomical. You could get better wages, basic wages elsewhere. What was always the sort of the the carrot at United, other than winning loads of trophies, of course, and playing for the biggest club in the world under the best manager ever, was the incentives. You could get a lot more from your win bonus, from trophy bonus, whatever, or just, various bonuses. And because United was so successful, a lot of those bonuses were paid out. So we'll see what happens with that one. We just want to see Marcus Rashford playing for Manchester United. Well, I want to see him playing for Manchester United for the rest of his career. To be honest with you, Glenn F says, can't believe that they're doing this now. Marcus is worth 500 grand, but I'd say 350 grand is fair. Faraz Khan says, United need to manage wages so Erik ten Hag does not have the same issue with other players wanting higher wages when buying new players. Yeah, I get that. I think this is all a bit of a sort of a fallout from the Alexis Sanchez move. I think there's, that sort of caused all sorts of issues. There was various reports saying that when Alexis Sanchez came in and he was on this ridiculous amount of money, about 400k, some people were saying, a week, that meant the likes of David De Gea and Paul Pogba and all the others who were the sort of top earners at the club, they either, in their contracts, they got their deal sort of bumped up to match Alexis Sanchez, or some of them were unhappy with the fact someone's coming in and getting this deal. So whatever way you look at it, it wasn't great. I mean, it wasn't great because Alexis Sanchez was a complete disaster for Manchester United as a player. But in terms of wages as well, it caused us a lot of dramas. So this is sort of, for me, it all fits in with Erik ten Hag trying to get Manchester United on track. And if you look at everything he's doing, it makes sense. So having some sort of more coherent and reasonable wage structure would be a part of that. You want to stay competitive, but you don't want it to be silly money. And hopefully that's going to be the case. And hopefully Marcus Rashford can put pen to paper sooner rather than later. Although there's no mad rush. He's still got a little while left on his contract. But it would be a great bonus to get him tied down and knowing that he's going to spend, hopefully, like I said earlier, the rest of his career at Manchester United. Should we talk about Declan Rice? Because I don't know if you saw this last night. Declan Rice was trending. So it's like, well, why is he trending? Basically, he was trending because it looked like he's on his own. It looks like he's been earmarked as Arsenal's marquee signing in the summer. There was all these various reports. I think it came from The Guardian. There was a tweet by Jacob Steinberg. He writes for The Guardian. There you can see it. I think he says, Arsenal's interest in Declan Rice is completely true. Been bubbling away, nice little pun, over the last few weeks, and it's seen as more likely move for the West Ham captain than Chelsea. Arsenal definitely have the money, especially Champions League qualification, looking a formality. It kind of does, doesn't it? I mean, don't get me wrong, they could still, fall off a bit of a cliff form-wise, but I expect them to make the Champions League. A factor in this is that Chelsea went 3 summers in a row without signing Rice, which opens the door for others to try, and he's easily good enough to make Arsenal even better. Manchester United, here's the kicker, also very much in the running for Rice. They've also laid some of the groundwork for a summer move. So it looks like Arsenal have obviously been working on this, bubbling away, as he said, for the last few weeks. United have been laying the groundwork. We've been linked with Declan Rice for about 3.5, if not 4 years. Do you remember when it came up a few years ago, McCall had tweeted about it, and then everyone was piling on him because he'd said something about West Ham not having, the best academy, and I think Rio Ferdinand or someone quote tweeted him. But that's the point I'm making there is this was a few years ago, and this is when we're linked with Rice. He's always been an expensive acquisition in terms of his the suggested fees. When we were first linked with him a few years ago, and he barely kicked a ball, it's for England, and he had, I think, 1 season in the Premier League, whatever it was. He was like, the prices were like 70, 80 million, which is, that's not happening, that's ridiculous. Now, more recently, we've seen quotes as high as 120 million. Now, I like Declan Rice, I think he's a good player. Is he worth paying that sort of money for? I don't know. I know that the game has moved on, and we are seeing these astronomical fees for players. He's a good player. And also, if we've got new owners and they've got loads of money to spend, it might not be much of an issue, but we'll have to wait and see. Witterbird, welcome to the Academy. Just joined the membership. Thanks for that. Always good to see Vicky in the chat. If you go over to the membership section, you'll get extra content. We've got a video coming out this week on there as well. Witterbird also says, just for my Premier League fantasy team, that this season Rice is not worth 100 million anymore. I know Rice always wanted to join United on his interviews, so that's something interesting there. Seems like there could be something there. Dale Gibson says, morning, Jay. Glenn F says, if we are going to spend silly money, it should be on Jude Bellingham, in my honest opinion. Yeah, what do you reckon? If you had a choice, Rice or Bellingham, Are you going to go with Bellingham? I think most people would say Bellingham, but there's one, because Bellingham's younger, he's the more exciting, can I say that, of the two, I think. I think there's a lot more sort of noise and hype around him, and, you know, we've seen what he's done in the Champions League as well. You could counter that and say we've seen what Declan Rice has done in the Premier League. If it was a choice, I'd take Bellingham, but I wouldn't complain if we had either. I'm just not sure what will happen there. I think Bellingham looks like he could be going to the Scousers or Real Madrid, maybe. I know they have got some quality in midfield. Declan Rice, I always thought he would go with Chelsea, to be honest with you. He came from Chelsea, didn't he, as a kid? I always thought he'd go back there. But as the report was saying, you know, Chelsea have had ample time to get him. They could have bought him back in the last few years. They've chosen not to. The one thing I will say, though, is Todd Boehly might be waking up this morning and he might look at the papers and he might go, Declan Rice, let's get him. Because he likes doing this, doesn't he, Todd Boehly? He likes to go, okay, who's everyone in for? Who are Arsenal in for? Let's get him. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happened, or if they came back in for him, or in for him, I should say. I mean, it happened with Mikhailo Mudryk, didn't it? Arsenal were in for him. It was a done deal. I was watching, I think it was one of the Sky programmes on Saturday morning, and you saw an Arsenal fan on there just talking about how he was going to change their team and all this, and you couldn't wait to see him. And then 3 hours later, or whatever it is, Chelsea have practically got the deal done. So, one to keep an eye on, and as always, we will keep you posted. Loads of people in the chat saying, a few people. Lee Trainer saying Jude is levels above Rice in every way. The Dude 42 says Bellingham every time. Kez Levin says Jude. Glenn F says Bellingham is a much better player for sure. Dan Solo says Bellingham will be better than De Jong or Rice. Listen, I don't necessarily disagree with that. We'll have to wait and see. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't end up with either. Let us know what you think. Do you think we're going to get Declan Rice? There's a question for you. Or do you think we're going to get Jude Bellingham? You want one of him. Most of you seem to want Jude Bellingham. Do you think we'll get him? Because there are some sort of flies in the ointment for Liverpool. Yes, they've got money. I've seen, is it the Qataris are about to buy him? I saw some tweets doing the rounds last night. Looked like the Qataris could be in for Liverpool. But they're struggling this season, which is hilarious, isn't it, by the way? How much is that entertaining us, the fact that Liverpool keep losing football matches? If they don't make Champions League, does that put Bellingham off? Because they're currently in 9th. Now, there's a lot of football left to play. You know, we're not even at the halfway stage of the season yet. They could make it up, but they're 10 points off the top 4. 10 points behind us, actually. So, it's not a given they're going to make Champions League football. Now, we've been here before and they have a little, a late rally and they got there in the end. So there's every chance they could do that. But if they don't, does that put off Jude Bellingham going to a club that's not in the Champions League? I don't know. Also, the Real Madrid link. Real Madrid looked like they were sort of the favourites at one point to sign him. He was, he's a player that they've been linked with for a number of years, not just this summer, but previous summers as well. And you look at his career trajectory, Birmingham to Dortmund, Real Madrid, you'd think that would be a sort of a natural progression. But do they necessarily need him? They've got Camavinga, they've got Tchouaméni. I know the different types of players, but I know they've got players as well who were, getting on a bit in football terms. But is it a given that they'd come in for him? I don't know. Let us know what you think. Get involved in the chat in the comments. Let us know what you think. I mean, it's obvious Manchester United, if we do get new owners, I think it's obvious anyway, we will spend in the summer. I wouldn't be surprised if we bought a midfielder in, because despite the fact we've got a very good midfield at the moment with Eriksen, with Bruno, with Casemiro, also with Fred as a backup. Casemiro and Eriksen 30. You still need options. There's always been this noise around De Jong and the fact that Erik ten Hag obviously knows him and wants him. Do you see De Jong maybe coming in? He said he's happy at Barcelona. It looks like, it's definitely cooled down now. It's not going to happen in January, but you never know with Barcelona. They're in such a 2-8 when it comes to the finances. It wouldn't surprise me. Ed says, Motti would never get injured in a million years. Might as well go for Joe, but he's not. He don't think it's happening. I don't, to be honest with you, but you never know. Stranger things have happened, but I doubt it. Should we move on anyway? You've got this Weghorst interview. Wout Weghorst has given an interview. He's a new Manchester United signing, obviously. Signed not in time for the derby, which was a little bit frustrating, but in the grand scheme of things, it didn't matter because we won anyway. He's been giving an interview to the club, the official club website or MUTV. You can see some of the quotes here. Says there, how excited are you to be able to say you are a United player? I'm really excited, of course. It's a great feeling. The last week, of course, when I heard for the first time of their interest, it was special. And yeah, I'm proud that everything is done now. I'm a United player. Here you go. For clarification for our fans, I've only just read this, so forgive me. How do you pronounce your first name? Is it like Wout Weghorst? Yeah, I take it. I go for it. In Dutch, you say it like Weghorst, but the G is, of course, in England a little bit difficult. So in my time in Burnley, it was also Weghorst. That's okay. Well, let's clear that up. Listen, he's obviously excited. It's a weird one with Weghorst because I don't think many of us would have wanted or would have been clamouring for him a few months ago, saying, I tell you, we need to get in January. We need to get that kid that was at Burnley. But I have this thing that I trust Erik ten Hag. And if Erik ten Hag wants him, and I had the quotes yesterday from Erik ten Hag saying he'd been scouting him for a little while, then you've got to believe in what Erik ten Hag wants to do because he seems to be getting everything right. So if Erik ten Hag thinks that this kid is the answer to giving us something different up front, then I'm all about that. I don't think you can really question him too much because he's getting everything right, including with his signings. I mean, you look at the signings we've made so far under Erik ten Hag, there's a bit of consistency there. Some people like question, Anthony, has he quite worked out the way we want? He's had a pretty solid start. I think he's got 5 or 6 goals or something like that. It's not, he's not the end of the world there. And I think some people are just looking for reasons to criticise him, and I think also you've got to remember he's still young and he's coming into a new league and it might take a little while to adapt, but he's still managed to bag a few goals in the Premier League as well. You look at Mahrez, absolutely phenomenal. You look at Eriksen, he surprised me how good he is. Ditto Casemiro, just one of the best midfielders, if not the best defensive midfielder in the Premier League. All the signings have been positive, including Tyrone Malacia, who was a bit of a left field choice. 40 million euros for a left back. Many of us had barely heard about until he was linked with Manchester United. So when you look at what Ten Hag's been doing, you can see that it makes sense. And if this is someone he wants, you look at the way he plays, you look at Weghorst compared to the likes of Andy Martial or Marcus Rashford, a completely different player. And also, we need someone who can sort of rotate a little bit. And when Martial's injured, we're already down at the bare bones. We've got Marcus as a striker, and that's it. And I'd argue his probably best position is not even as a striker. So you need other options. Now, I'm not into just getting anyone. I think we did that with Odi Nagalo, and despite, a couple of goals in the cup competitions and a decent cameo in the derby, he wasn't really at the levels you need to be challenging. And I think not having a better option cost us in that semi-final against Chelsea in the FA Cup. Whereas now, Weghorst comes in, you look at him, you think, okay, he's a player who has scored goals recently. Burnley aside, he's still scored goals. Because people can look at that and go, well, there's the 2 goals at Burnley and, that wasn't good enough. But he scored goals at the Sixers this season. I think he's got 9 in all competitions. You look at what he's done in the Bundesliga when he was at Wolfsburg. There was seasons, he had 2 back-to-back seasons where he scored 20 goals or, 20 and then 25 goals. So he can score goals, and he has scored goals recently. And he is a player that offers you something different. He's not like Martial and Marcus Rashford, who, although they're not the same, have similar traits. Quite skillful, can run it getting behind. I know Martial's a bit more of an out-and-out number 9 than Marcus is, but you look at Wout Weghorst, and he's a complete out-and-out number 9. He's the sort of player that, you could suggest that maybe Haller was for Erik ten Hag. Get involved in the comments in the chat. Let us know what you think about this signing, because, you're not just going to go, okay, well, we've got him, he's amazing, that, you can look at it and go, well, I wasn't expecting that. But I just think that as an option, it makes sense because Erik ten Hag wants him. Sammy C says he'll get goals easy. 86 Bat says need a solid backup for Eriksen also. Witterbird says, do you think Eriksen is rested tomorrow? I'm right in thinking that Casemiro, I know this is a different question, but Casemiro, if he gets the yellow card, is suspended for the Arsenal game. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if Eriksen's rested. I also wonder whether Erik ten Hag looks at the Casemiro situation and goes, I can't risk it, because if he gets the yellow, I need him for that Arsenal game. Or does he say, I need him for both? I've got to try and get him for both because he's such a big player for us. Does he say, no, you know what, you can play against Palace and just hopefully not get booked? Hit that like button. Come on. Over 1,100 of you watching. We've barely got to 100 likes. That was, that's just unacceptable. I'm going to wrap it up there. We're going to be back later on with the preview for the Crystal Palace game. We'll be talking about Weghorst. Is he going to start? We'll talk about Casemiro. Is he going to start? Because I think I'm right in thinking, one more booking, he won't be able to play at the Emirates. I'll be looking at what Crystal Palace have to offer as well. So make sure you are checking that out. If you've not done, hit like, share, and subscribe. I'm Jay Motti. This has been the Paper Talk from the studio. Thanks for watching.